Right, so Keir Starmer appears to be discovering that his ardent support for Israel might not be going entirely his way, as people are more switched on to matters than he previously thought, and no amount of dictatorial bans on showing support with Palestine or apparent threats of expulsion from the Labour Party have made the slightest bit of difference, judging by the size of the pro-Palestine demonstrations we have seen happening this weekend. So in true coward's fashion, he's now backpeddling, with an appalling statement on the Palestine Israel situation that is fooling nobody. It's too little, far too late, and if anything has hardened more people against him and his hypocrisy. As always, Keir Starmer is on the wrong side of the argument and the wrong side of history, and people are, in no uncertain terms, telling him so. Right, so Keir Starmer's quizzling statement. Let's start with that. What wisdom has the brill-creamed one deigned to share with us in the name of still siding unequivocally with Israel, whilst trying to pretend he suddenly gives a shit about Palestinians, given he gave the nod to Israel the other day to literally commit war crimes in shutting off water and electricity? Here's what he said. I won't do the voice today, but he said, "A week ago we awoke to the unimaginable and heartbreaking news of terrorist attacks on Israel from Gaza by Hamas. In the days that have followed, we have heard horrific stories of the murder and mutilation of men, women and children, along with the horror of hostage-taking. Israel has the right, indeed the duty, to defend herself and rescue these hostages. Responsibility for what has happened sits with the terrorists of Hamas, and we repeat our calls for Hamas to release all hostages. I've met with members of the British Jewish community this week and told them that we stand with Israel and with them at this time. I know this is a distressing and a worrying time and welcome the extra funding for the CST. There must be zero tolerance of any increase in anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Hamas has no interest in peace, no interest in protecting Palestinians. We call on all parties to act in line with international law, including allowing humanitarian access of food, water, electricity and medicines to Gaza, and ensure safe humanitarian corridors in Gaza for those fleeing violence. 7 days on from the darkest day in Israel's recent history, our resolve in the face of terrorism must not falter." Makes you feel a little bit sick, doesn't it? This man was saying just the other day that Israel had the right to withdraw food, water and electricity from Palestinians. There's no way doing so specifically targets Hamas. And now he's basically acknowledged that he completely screwed up in that LBC interview where he said that, and needs to backpedal a bit. That's as far as the backpedaling unfortunately went, though, because his support for Israel in this is as ardent as ever. Zionist without qualification. His words, he will always be tarnished with them. It doesn't matter that Palestine has been suffering terrorist attacks, suffering from occupation, has been the victims of the Nakba, of war in 1948 and in 1967, which saw their land stolen. It doesn't matter that Israel conducts itself as an apartheid state, because Starmer still has and always will have their backs. Even the one specific reference in his statement to Palestinians saw him unable to bring himself to say that actual word. He said, "Ensure safe humanitarian corridors in Gaza for those fleeing violence." Those being Palestinians on the receiving end of violence from Israel, of course. Why can't you just say that, Keith? But if you said Palestine specifically, then you might accidentally differentiate Palestinians from Hamas, and that might burst the bubble over how much right Israel has to be doing what they are doing. He also again brought up one of my pet hates, addressing the Jewish community, singular, as there is more than one, and what you really mean is the Zionist community, because in case you've missed the large amount of protest footage happening here in the UK, conducted by people you want to govern over, a hell of a lot of them were Jewish, and they were calling out Israel, not Palestine. They are not people in agreement with you, they are not Zionists, and I would bet my bottom dollar you didn't speak to any of them. Your Jewish community is a very small section of the large number of Jewish communities, plural, in this country. Also, it can't be missed, the bits where he said, "I've met with members of the British Jewish community this week and told them that we stand with Israel and with them at this time," thus conflating Judaism, the Jewish community as he puts it, with the State of Israel, which is, the last time I looked, an anti-Semitic thing to do. Far be it from me to rant over every line of this, though, although I could, because some responses to this statement on social media are just as damning. Columnist and former Corbyn Director of Policy Andrew Fisher said, "The utter lack of humanity for Palestinians is despicable. The boilerplate language about international law as if it's some sort of effing hypothetical rather than actual war crimes being committed right now is disgusting. This man is not fit for public office." Expulsion letter in the post, possibly Andrew, but absolutely every word of it true. Mikey Walsh, a political activist particularly for the Gypsy, Roma and Traveller community, so a man who knows a thing about discrimination, he came out and said, You encouraged war crimes being committed right before our eyes. Hospitals beyond capacity being bombed, thousands of Palestinians and their babies being killed, and those ordered to flee are murdered as they try. Not a word of regret or Israeli condemnation from human rights lawyer. Again, bang on the money. Barrister Jane Haybrook, someone also familiar with human rights law, incidentally, likely a damn sight more than Keir Starmer is anyway, said, "You charlatan. You knew full well what Netanyahu's fascist government response would be. You could have called it out before the illegal ethnic cleansing happened, instead of waiting till the 11th hour and wringing your blood-soaked hands. You supported this. You can't backpedal now." Stats for Lefties, the left-leaning pollster account, waded in as well, saying thousands of Palestinians killed, hundreds of children dead, hospitals bombed, civilian convoys massacred, war crime after war crime, ethnic cleansing, and this is what he offers. Not one word of criticism towards Israel. Not one word. Starmer is a disgrace. Even Momentum, a literal Labour affiliate group, have condemned Starmer publicly with their comments, saying, "Israel's demand for millions to leave northern Gaza has been termed a death sentence and ethnic cleansing. It still engages in collective punishment of Palestinians. Israel has used white phosphorus and killed thousands in indiscriminate bombing. Starmer ignores it all. Shame." The last comment I'll draw attention to and make mention of comes from the Just Jews account, an account providing alternative Jewish opinion in light of the Labour Party and anti-Semitism, who have said, "What is the point of calling on an apartheid-occupying colonial power to act in line with international law, of which it has been in grave violation for decades, with zero consequences? This isn't just cowardice, it's complicity in genocide." Well, exactly. What will it take to bring Israel to heel, especially with leaders like Starmer? It starts by treating them exactly the same as we treated South Africa in the 80s, with boycott, divestment and sanctions. Sadly, it appears we'll have to put the screws on our own politicians really tightly this time around, though, because for some reason with Israel, they think it's entirely different. Literally hundreds of comments on this now, 99.9% condemning Starmer for continuing to be an absolute coward and backing the oppressor time after time, and I firmly believe that will not change either. It should also be noted that this statement of Starmer's came out mere hours after a diktat was sent out to all Labour members, councillors and MPs, forbidding them all from attending a pro-Palestine rally that might have been happening near them. None of them are pro-Hamas rallies, not one of them. So if anything, this demand, courtesy of Starmer's sidekick and General Secretary David Evans, says even more than Starmer's pathetic letter does, because for all of his weakest piss backpedal towards the human rights of Palestinians caught up in the crossfire right now, he really didn't mean a single word of it, when showing solidarity with those same people has been made a disciplinary offence where you could be suspended and presumably expelled. To be a Labour member now, to obey such authoritarianism, is to be complicit in this. And it's of no surprise to me that I'm seeing post after post on social media of members cutting their membership cards up and resigning once again. Another wave of them. To be part of the Starmer regime is to be complicit in wringing your hands and standing on the sidelines as war crimes are being committed, as we might be witnessing the beginning of another Nakba for all we know. Palestinians now so concentrated and crammed in the south of Gaza, as overcrowded as it is, there are now so many people in houses, now reports are saying they're having to sleep standing up. They're literally packed into houses like sardines. No room to breathe even. Where will they go if they're attacked again? How much more land can you take from people? And what then, Keir Starmer? Will you defend Israel again as Gaza gets more bits of it chipped away, gets blown away? We cannot afford to have this man as our leader, ever. He is so toxic. He is so dangerous. He needs ousting from politics completely, not promoting to the top job in the land. God help all of us if that happens. But God help anyone speaking out against Israel or speaking up for Palestine. Suella Braverman might have threatened to lock people up for waving a Palestinian flag. This idiot would almost certainly do it. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please like, share and subscribe if you did. More content up daily. Meanwhile, here's a video recommendation where I covered Starmer's literal support for those Israeli war crimes before he backpedaled, and I'll hopefully see you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.